We will not be intimidated, and we will also not be silenced. Major League Baseball, Coca-Cola, and Delta may be scared of Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden, and the left, but I am not, and we are not.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp in a political fight and not backing down after major corporations challenged the signing of his new voting law. One expert explains how Trump's ideology played a role in dividing the nation. And a child in fear.
We need to have a conversation with his mom. This is like a little Chucky doll. You remember Chucky?
Those were the words of a Maryland police officer scolding a 5-year-old child captured on recently released body cam footage. Now one justice advocate sheds a light on this growing issue and its impact on black students. Plus, a tough week of testimony in the Derek Chauvin trial. Our in-house expert explains how this trial is impacting our mental health right here on BNC Live. You're looking at flags at the White House lowered to half-staff following the deadly incident at the Capitol. President Biden releasing a statement saying he and the First Lady were heartbroken that a Capitol police officer has been killed. Good evening, and thank you for sticking with us for this hour of BNC Live. I'm Brittany Jones. A nation in mourning. Tonight we begin with a closer look at the tragic incident at the Capitol. One officer is dead and another still in the hospital. President Biden expressed condolences to the family of Officer William Billy Evans and prayers to the second officer who is now recovering from the incident. Federal law enforcement sources have identified the suspect as Noah Green. Green was killed after ramming his car into a security barrier at the Capitol complex. And this was a scene at the Capitol today. The Capitol beefing up on security measures with concrete barriers and fencing following Friday's incident. The National Guard also on foot patrol, keeping the area secure. Former Secret Service agent Ray Moore is with me now to talk about the latest on the Capitol. Ray, welcome to BNC. It's great to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And Ray, it's only been 24 hours since this tragic incident happened, and there are still more questions than answers, unfortunately. An officer is now dead. One officer is still in the hospital. The suspect is dead, and now new barriers are going up outside the Capitol building. First, your reaction to the latest developments today.
You know, I was devastated by what occurred at the Capitol, but again, I was not totally surprised because you've got people out there with different mindsets that want to do harm to our democracy, and this young person seems to have been one of those people.
And so you talk about lawmakers are saying, though many of them weren't at the Capitol when this happened, it still stirred up the fear and reminded them of the Capitol riot in January. At this point, if folks don't feel like even the police are safe there, how does anyone feel safe or comforted returning back to that building?
Well, it's going to take a moment, but the review that was done, the security review that was done by General Honore and his team, it pointed out very specific things that could be done to make the Capitol safer. And so we've got to get the people at the Capitol, our congressmen and our senators, to support those initiatives put forth by General Honore.
So do you think this, we'll see any increased law enforcement? We know we're seeing it today, but, when we talk about their presence from here on out, do you think we'll see more after just this incident, or is it going to be a continuous thing at the Capitol?
I think it should be continuous because, again, at this time and as a result of what happened on January 1st, again, intelligence suggests that a lot of people looking at our democracy, looking at the Capitol, looking at the White House, and right now the Capitol looks like a soft target.
And what more needs to be done?
In the report, they talked about adding more manpower, making the fencing permanent. They talked about providing better cameras, providing better internet, providing a better security system. There's a host of initiatives that they put forth that should be implemented, but in the meantime, they've got to beef up the manpower. So utilize, if the National Guard is available, utilize them. If there are some other state and local personnel that are able to come and assist, utilize them until you build your people up to a position where they can protect the Capitol safely.
And Mr. Moore, you spent your life in the CIA. You're a former law enforcement officer. Evans spent 18 years in the police force. Officer Sicknick also died back in January. When this happens, is this like losing one of your own?
Yes, it is. Even though I was not a part of the Capitol Police, it's like, in this case, losing a younger brother, because you're all family in law enforcement, and that goes all around the world, not just in the U.S. When we travel with presidents around the world, we met brothers in law enforcement. So losing this officer is like losing a younger brother. And
so where do we go from here?
Well, again, we implement those initiatives. We've got to be proactive. I know it's the people's house, but we've got to make sure the people's house is safe and the people that come and visit the people's house is safe. If I may digress to 1995, when Timothy McVeigh blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City, Lou Merletti, who was the agent in charge of the Secret Service at the time, immediately closed down Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House and the road in back of the White House to build a bigger barrier of security. And I know it's difficult to close down the roads in D.C., but there's got to be some proactive movement on their part to make everybody up there safe.
You are certainly right. You got to keep the people's house safe and our people safe. Mr. Moore, we want to thank you so much for your time and your insight tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, meanwhile, various reports point to the suspect's mental health leading up to the attack on Capitol Police officers. Media outlets who spoke to Noah Green's brother and former teammate say, from his posts on social media to things he said about his experiencing suicidal thoughts. Our mental health and wellness expert Jane Marks is with me now to talk about this. And Jane, we know that investigators are still digging deep into Green's background and examining whether he had any history of mental health issues. But with these new developments so far about his background, reports say he talked about having a tough time losing his job during the pandemic, which we know many people have. He was also going through a spiritual journey. So, Jane, was this a cry for help maybe that everyone missed?
You know, it could have been, but you know, it's interesting because it does sound like he was taking action. And I think, you know, historically, when we look at people who apparently, like in this case, had a history of mental health issues, you know, there was an old-fashioned term that we don't hear as often as we used to, and the term was called nervous breakdown. You know, it's not a medical term, but certainly all of us are familiar with it, and you start to see family members or people that you know begin to decompensate, and whether or not, you know, they start to experience sleep disruption or anger or depersonalization, or, you know, they start talking about harming themselves or harming other people. All of these could have been there, but it's hard to, you know, it's hard to determine whether or not there was a cry for help, because again, he was already, at least he appeared to be, taking action, you know, as opposed to saying or reaching out to people saying, listen, I need your help.
And so his brother reportedly says Green's mind didn't seem right after an incident, that he suffered from hallucinations, heart palpitations, headaches, and even suicidal thoughts that we mentioned. When you start to see this type of mental unraveling, if you will, what should those around you do to help prevent these types of tragedies from happening?
Well, you know, the first thing you have to do is to step up. You've got to step up, and that's hard because sometimes some of this behavior is a little frightening to you. Yeah. But more importantly, you must be very non-judgmental when you begin to have these conversations, because, you know, we don't know whether or not this person feels unsafe or not. Secondly, you know, you ask that person, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anyone I can call for you? You know, one of the concepts that I often use with my patients, if I think that they're at risk, you know, of course, I always tell them what their options are, but I always say, listen, I think it's important that we get medical clearance on you. That is a less frightening term for them as opposed to a psych eval. And so if you say to a family member, you know, can I take you in for, or can I go with you? You know, is there anyone you want me to call for you? What about your pastor or clergyman, or can I go with you, let's say, to the community mental health center? So, you know, again, if you see something, step up and say something.
That's all good advice there. And Jane, it's really been just a very emotional week overall, dealing with so much trauma, one thing after another. And on top of this, you know, we're switching gears a little bit to the Derek Chauvin murder trial of George Floyd. The grueling videos we saw this week and tearful testimonies we won't forget. How are people dealing with that right now?
It's heart-stopping. You know, we watch that and we experience anguish, and some of us experience grief. And for certainly Black Americans, too often we are reliving racial trauma, or we're reliving experiences experiences where we ourselves have felt that there was uneven treatment or we were treated in a fashion. So for so many people, it is raw, and it is an experience that you want to look at it, but you think, well, wait a minute, when I look at it evokes so many memories and so many emotions inside of me. And so, you know, looking at this trial has got to be in a very mindful way, because without that, you're going to be bombarded with these images. And, you know, as we watch, you know, these folks come and participate and talk about their own personal experiences, we can relate to that, and we feel what they feel. This young man, we know you know, this survival guilt that he feels when he talked about, you know, reporting that it was a fake $20 bill, or we watched this you know, the person who was witnessing this, he just broke down in tears. And so you're watching it in real time, real emotions, real reactions. And for a lot of us, that affects us deeply. And if we should have a history of anxiety in our own, you know, own personal experiences, it evokes anxiety in us.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot for everyone across the nation. Well, our mental health and wellness expert, Jane Marks, thank you so much for always giving us the best advice.
Absolutely.
And coming up, Major League Baseball taking a stand. Why corporate giants are now protesting Georgia's voter laws. That's next on BNC Live. The city of Atlanta strikes out at this year's All-Star game. Now that's in response to Georgia's new voting law. Major League Baseball's decision to pull out follows corporate giants Coca-Cola and Delta, who've also challenged Georgia's voter restrictions. The Republican-backed voting law endorsed by Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp faces legal challenges from civil rights groups and others who claim it aims to suppress voting among black people and other minorities. In a statement, MLB Commissioner Robert Manfred says, "I have decided that the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport is by relocating this year's All-Star game and MLB draft. Fair access to voting continues to have our game's unwavering support." And the Atlanta Braves, who were set to host the All-Star game, says in part the Braves organization will continue to stress the importance of equal voting opportunities. Unfortunately, businesses, employees, and fans in Georgia are the victims of this decision. In a press conference today, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp says the MLB caved into fear, but he's not backing down.
Yesterday, Major League Baseball caved to fear and lies from liberal activists. They ignored the facts of our new election integrity law, and they ignored the consequences of their decision on our local community. In the middle of a pandemic, Major League Baseball put the wishes of Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden ahead of the economic well-being of hard-working Georgians who were counting on the All-Star game for a paycheck.
And joining us now to talk about this is Ted Bagley, author of The Demolition of Democracy: Has America Lost Its Soul? Bagley has a unique perspective about former President Donald Trump's influence on current voting restrictions in Georgia. Good evening, Ted. Welcome to BNC.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we talk about this, you know, this story keeps getting bigger and bigger with so many major companies speaking up and taking action. What's your reaction to the MLB making this move, and how do you think former President Donald Trump played a role in this issue overall?
Well, personally, I like the idea of corporations getting involved in these decisions, because every election has consequences. And the legislative decision that was made by Kemp actually brought on the actions that you're seeing today. And each corporation, in addition to making whatever products they make, they have an obligation to their communities. They have an obligation to the politics around that community. So I'm supportive of what happened. And as Mayor Bottom says, you know, whatever decisions that are made, political or not, has consequences. And as a result of those consequences, someone will suffer. But I think sometimes it's best that we suffer up front in order to progress later.
And so we know Trump's ideology, as you just mentioned, played a role in dividing the nation as well, with racist and negative ideas about our voting process. But do you think Trump is the root cause in dividing the nation, or was his ideology already in the fabric of our nation?
Well, there's a twofold answer to that. The ideology was already in the fabric, but Trump administration sort of released the Kraken, as I call it. The big lie is what really brought a lot of this down as it is today. The January 6th, what happened then? You know, what he orchestrated that. Words have power. And his words, being the president of the United States, should have been used more correctly than it were. So to your question of whether he is responsible, he's partly responsible. But the system is responsible because that was already in the fabric of this country.
And so Brian Kemp basically taking shots at saying that this is just basically to kind of play off the backs of President Biden, what he wants and what Stacey Abrams wants. Do you think that this is about politics in terms of this Georgia voting law?
It is about politics. All due respect to Mr. Kemp, but you know he's trying to make amends for some of the things that he did during the campaign, and he's trying to get back under the good graces of Donald Trump. But it's obvious. You know, what happens is when a system learns to play within a system, we learn how voting is our key. When we learn how to vote and change Georgia from a red to blue, now they want to change the goalposts. They want to change the game again. So this is what the Kemp decision, the legislative decision did. They want to change the game. You know, this is that old bait and switch tactic, right? So yes, I think his decision and the decision of Donald Trump's during his administration has caused a lot of the ills that we're seeing right now.
And you talk about changing the game. That means we got to be educated, right? So in your book, you explain the importance of voter education and understanding the candidates on the ballot. Why is this so crucial, especially at a time like right now?
Well, you know, I've done a lot of research for my book on why people vote, how people vote. A lot of people are one-issue voters, particularly when you get out to places like Florida, Georgia, and places near the coast, because you have a lot of immigrants coming in and they have one issue, and the issue is socialism. And what Trump tries to do is to scare people. He tries to put fear in people by saying socialism. And people know that the socialism they experience, or the communism, as I call it, or totalitarianism, is totally different from what you see here in the United States. But yet still they want to connect it to. They want to scare people into voting the way they want them to vote.
Well, with the lawsuits and the challenges that are up right now, I guess we just have to wait and see. Ted Bagley, thank you so much for offering your insight tonight.
And thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And welcome back to BNC Live. A Maryland community is now outraged after police have released body cam video of two officers accused of verbally assaulting a 5-year-old child. According to Montgomery County Police, the incident happened last January in Silver Spring. Police were called to the school after the child ran away for allegedly destroying school property and assaulting a teacher. The kindergartner can be heard screaming while one of the officers scolds him in front of school officials. Now, here's a warning. You may find this very disturbing. Let's take a look and listen.
Keep on crying until you start coughing.
Speaker. It's Mom.
I wish you would. I wish you would slap that phone out of there. Sit down.
Now, the boy's mother, Shantae Grant, is suing the two officers, the school board, and Montgomery County. Her attorneys say she hopes the incident will lead to changes in training with the school and police. According to Montgomery County Police, both officers are still on the job. This incident sheds light on the growing issue of black children being criminalized in schools. Joining us now to talk about this is Zakiya Sankara Jabbar, education justice advocate and founder of Racial Justice Now.
Greetings. Happy to be here.
And Zakiya, we all just watched this video and we've seen this countless incidents of black students being handled aggressively in schools. I watched the video, as I just mentioned, there are a lot of questionable comments made, with the officers repeatedly telling the boy, "I'd beat you if your mama don't," you know, if she doesn't beat you. How difficult was it seeing actual black officers committing this offense?
Yeah, that part really stung, right? I made an observation to a friend. I said, "Wow!" I said, these two officers are reminiscent of the black overseers on the plantation with that kind of language with a 5-year-old baby. You know, 5-year-olds don't assault people, right? 5-year-olds have emergencies, and they need loving and caring adults to help de-escalate them. The way that this child was treated, I really wonder, I really wonder if these two black officers would have talked to a white child that way.
That's interesting. I mean, well, how could the black officers have approached the situation differently, knowing other incidents like this happened in the past with those who don't look like us, as you just mentioned?
Well, you know, I think that falls on the school district. I live here in Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County is a suburb of Washington, D.C. And I will tell you that the school district is absolutely responsible. Why did they call the police to begin with? The child had left the school. He was down the street. And all it took was a caring adult, just one, in that school to go after the child, but go after the child in a way that is nurturing and loving. Children respond to love. These officers also called this child a beast. This child is not a beast. And they treated him like a beast. This child is a child. He's 5 years old. Of course, does he have some issues that certainly need to be taken care of? Yes, but that's what social workers are for, right? That's what crisis mental health workers are for. I am ashamed that the school called the police on a 5-year-old child.
And his mom said in the video, it's just a case of her child is spoiled. And like you said, he needs to be dealt with in a different way. So what type of training do you think these officers need, and how often, do they need it to avoid this?
No, these officers don't need training. I'm sorry. They need to be fired. If you need training in basic humanity, there was one of the officers was a woman. I wonder, does she have children? Are you a mother? I'm a mother. There is no way, even if I was an officer, and I would never be one, I wouldn't approach a 5-year-old that way, especially a 5-year-old black child, because I would see my child in that child. I mean, you have no sense of nurturing? How do you train nurturing into grown people? There's no excuse for what they did. I stand with our county councilman, Will Jawando, in calling for the firing of these officers. There is no way that they should still be on the force after how they treated that child. For 50 minutes, that video was. They got out of the car hyped up at this baby. Out of the car hyped up. And so, no, there's no training for that.
There's no training for that. Well, you talk about situations like this. What does your organization do to combat racial injustice?
Yes, that's a great question. My organization was founded to combat anti-Black racism, particularly in institutions. And so schools, policing, all of those are institutions that have a history, unfortunately, a very long history of anti-Blackness. So with that being said, we have been organizing Black parents here in Montgomery County and other Black community members who care about ending the school to prison pipeline. We know the data shows us that nationally, Black children are in the school to prison pipeline disproportionately. Here in Montgomery County, Black children only make up 1/5 of the school district, but over 50% of the arrests that the SROs in our schools participate in. So we have called and have been working this past year in our state legislature and here in our local county to call for police-free schools. We're serious about that. We believe that we need to replace the police with culturally competent counselors, social workers, and other people who understand child development and don't see a criminal anytime a child is acting out. So that's the kind of work that we're doing. I'm proud of it. And I'm proud to say here on this show that we have a commitment from our county to remove law enforcement from our schools next school year.
Wow. And I mean, do you guys plan to put up a fight against what's happened with these particular police officers in this other case?
Absolutely. We're working with other community organizations, Silver Spring Justice Coalition and others, to make sure that these officers are held accountable, but also that our school district is held accountable. We're not stopping just with the police. The school district is also responsible. And so I'm thankful that this mother is also filing a lawsuit, not just against the two officers, but against the county police department and also against the school district. The teachers, the administrators, or whoever called the cops, their head needs to roll too. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Zakia, we are so grateful for the work that you're doing. We say thank you for your time tonight, for weighing in on this very important story.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
You too. And many people across the country are celebrating Easter Sunday tomorrow. After the break, we're joined by a psychologist who says setting boundaries could be a good thing heading into the holiday. And ahead in sports, it's the first Saturday on the field at Yankee Stadium. Folks, we'll take you out to the diamond for your baseball highlights. Plus, find out what basketball legend has a legacy in the world of March Madness. Tonight's King of the Hill is up next with our James Hill.
In Carolina, Tubby Smith is our BNC King of the Hill.
James, he's led the way for a lot of teams.
Everywhere he goes, they're very successful. And whenever he has a ball club in the tournament, you really don't want to see him.
Yeah, talk about bringing on the champs. All right, thank you there, James. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
$5, a gift card. Yeah. You know, I almost started to get out there at my complex. They were doing an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, Lord.
I was like, a
Brittany
gift card.
Run away the kids, y'all. Well, some sad news to report, but maybe looking up for him. Rapper Earl Simmons, DMX, is reportedly in critical condition after suffering from a drug overdose. According to TMZ, the incident occurred at his home Friday night around 11 p.m. A source close to the matter says the rapper was rushed to the hospital shortly after having a heart attack due to the overdose. Reports say DMX is currently in the critical care unit at a hospital in White Plains, New York. Given his condition, doctors at one point cautioned that he might not make it, but we're hearing good news. His attorney reportedly saying that he is still very concerned about him, but he is breathing on his own and no longer on life support. DMX is 50 years old. So
and we wish him the best. Yes,
our prayers definitely go out to him. Well, stay with us. We have much more news, weather, and sports coming your way, and entertainment. Stick around and don't change that channel. All that good stuff.
And put on your Sunday best. We're ready for it.
Yes. Me and Brittany want to be able to see what you look like, too. So, okay. Well, all right. Are you ready for tomorrow's Easter Sunday versus battle, Britt?
I am ready.
You ready? All right. So, look at this. We want some of you folks, we see that you are getting ready. Look at this dude. People are already showing out. He got his leg popping out the car. That's what we call wearing your Sunday's best.
They are wearing their Sunday's best, but I don't know if we want to listen to the Isley Brothers on Easter, but we're going to do it anyway. We just got to make sure we say an extra prayer in church.
Yes, and that's the battle between two of the funk's finest legendary bands, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Isley Brothers, as Britt just mentioned, is slated for tomorrow at 7 p.m. via Instagram and the Triller app. If that doesn't knock you out of your seat, folks, listen to this. Actor and comedian Steve Harvey will also be joining them on stage as the host of the show. Fans, place your bets tonight. The show kicks off. Who you got?
I don't know. It's Easter. I don't know if you could be in between the sheets after Easter, so I'm going to go with
and that's going to send us off. All right, we will see you back here next hour with more news, weather, sports, and entertainment. Stay out them sheets. Welcome back. There's been a lot going on this week, and I know you can feel it. And many folks are definitely looking forward to this holiday weekend to give them a chance to have some fun. It's Self-Care Saturday here on BNC, and tonight, Dr. Shani Turner explains how setting boundaries for yourself could also be helpful headed into this holiday for self-care. Dr. Shani Turner, thank you so much for joining us for Self-Care Saturday.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's Easter weekend, so this is also the first holiday that at least 100 million people have actually gotten vaccinated, feeling more comfortable now. So more people will likely be getting together since folks hadn't been getting together like that for the holidays. What type of impact has that had on folks' mental health this past year?
I think it's really exciting. I think that we have, for over a year, been in the house and been separated from people that we love and being able to participate in activities. And I think now we have such an opportunity to just be in community, fellowship with one another. And it feels really great for ourselves and for our children. So I think it's a really exciting time. I also think that there is some caution that I still think that we need to be mindful of at this time as well.
So what has it been like for people? I mean, so many folks have lost their loved ones. It's been a really tough year, right? And, you know, it could possibly potentially bring up some harsh memories to folks coming up on this holiday, with it being a time that people can actually get together.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that I would say is that people really need to set good boundaries for themselves, because it has been such a difficult year, and because we have been separated from each other for a year. I think it's really important that people are honest with themselves about what they can handle and what they can't. And I think setting good boundaries for yourself is the way to do that. Not setting boundaries to the point where you are not willing to engage with anyone, but that you understand you don't have to be at the event for the whole day. You can do something in the morning and take the afternoon off. You can choose to visit a small group of family members versus going to the larger family gathering, but really thinking about setting some clear boundaries on what's comfortable for you and what you have been through in this last year.
And Dr. Turner, what are some of those things that your clients have brought up to you?
I think that just what the holidays used to be, right? What we used to be able to do. I think I traditionally see a lot of African-American clients, and the holidays become a large family gathering at times. And even though some of my clients may be going into those same type of events, it is not the same, right? It is a smaller group of people. It might be one or two families coming together. It might be a family available on Zoom. It may be that, families are doing drive-bys where they can kind of wave and see each other and share a meal kind of through that type of practice. And I think that I validate that, and I welcome us allowing that to feel okay in this season, that might not be what it is for us going forward, but it's okay that at least there's a small number of us that are able to get together.
And how does that actually help kind of impact your own self-care routine, right?
Yes, I think it's huge because we need each other. Like, being in the house, it was tough. I myself have children, so I can speak for people that have children and have young children. It's hard when you don't have that community and when you're with, a smaller pod of people. So having an opportunity to be around other mothers, be around my siblings, be around my family members is really encouraging and motivating, and brings us one step closer to being able to be together. Mm-hmm. And that is ultimately great self-care, great for our overall mental health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. And I look at with this weekend being Easter, people are going to be doing probably even if it's small Easter egg hunts or something like that with their children or just with family members. That type of togetherness would also allow you to kind of have some happiness added to your life at this point.
Absolutely. And I encourage everyone to, I'm in Massachusetts. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Getting outside and trying to do those things, having my children go outside and do an Easter egg hunt, being able to take a walk, doing a hike, riding bikes. Those are the activities that we absolutely can do with people we love. So normally where it would look like, a gathering in someone's house, it may be that we're gathering at a park. It may be that we're going for a hike. It may be that we're doing things with the kids that is outside, but it's still really good for our mental health and overall well-being.
And what would you say to those people who are having a tough time going into this holiday? Maybe they're used to grandma cooking that favorite meal on Easter or something like that. What would you say to them?
I would say go back to those boundaries. I think that ultimately you have to do what's best for you. While I have some loved ones and some dear friends of mine that have lost significant family members at this time, I want them to know that I'm here for them and that there are resources, there are mental health resources, but don't push yourself to do more than you can handle. Like I said, if just going to an event during the day, meeting a friend for brunch, going and taking a walk, if that's all that you can handle, handle in this moment, please know that that is okay. If there's more that you're comfortable with taking on, if you want to go to the family gathering and you want to stay for an hour and that's your limit, it's okay for you to do that. And I encourage us all to think about seeking those additional mental health services, because we have other holidays coming up and this is going to continue to be challenging and difficult. So it's not just about Easter, it's really about moving forward and trying to get ourselves in a place where this is something that we can heal from, that we're trying to find healing and moving forward and having those relationships again.
And lastly, Dr. Turner, what is your self-care tip of the week?
I prioritize myself on a weekly basis. So between Zumba, between physical therapy, between just having dinner with my girlfriends, I'm a mom first, I'm a psychologist second, but being a mom and psychologist means I have to do things for me. I have to pour into me. And so I encourage everyone as a tip to don't make yourself feel the shame or the guilt of prioritizing yourself in small ways and in big ways. Reward yourself, pour into yourself, because you are the driving force for many people behind you, and you have to always be well.
I love that. Very, very awesome advice. Well, Dr. Turner, we want to thank you for joining us for Self-Care Saturday.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.